All right, hey, once again, everyone, it's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video, and what a day we had today. As advertised, it was the hottest day of 2020 so far, as we did 91 at the airport this afternoon. The previous high water mark for the year so far was 90 degrees back in late May. Forget the date, but we did 91 today, 15 degrees above average. 54 is where we started this morning, actually a pretty seasonable start to the day. It felt pretty nice first thing this morning, but boy, when it started to warm up, it warmed up in a hurry. It was a hot one today, but of course, nowhere near a record. In fact, today's record is really a hot one. 99 degrees back in 1933. Now, that's very close, of course, to the century mark. We've only eclipsed 100 a handful of times officially in recorded history at the Youngstown Warren Airport. Came awfully close to getting to that century mark on today's date. Back in 1933. All right, we got a few pictures sent in to us today of some 22-degree halos across the region. That's the circle around the sun. Sometimes we'll get these around the moon at night. Sometimes you'll see these referred to other things. Sundogs technically are kind of the limbs of the 22-degree halo. When you get that circle around the sun or the moon, then it's technically called a 22-degree halo, and it's formed from refraction of the sunlight by those tiny ice crystals and those very high, thin cirrus clouds. Don't forget those cirrus clouds are way up there, 30,000 feet or even higher in the sky, and it's awfully cold up there. So mostly just little ice crystals are what those clouds are made of. All right, interesting satellite picture today showing that veil of cirrus clouds. Also, you'll notice the cumulus field off to our south and west. That's where the higher dew point air has been for most of the day today, and it is pushing in this evening. As of 8:11 p.m., our local dew point at 63, Columbus 69, and a very Florida-like air mass encompasses a lot of central and southern Ohio this evening. We've also had a couple of random thunderstorms around the Dayton and Cincinnati areas this evening along what is essentially a warm front. Now, there's really no air mass change. I shouldn't say that. There's really no temperature change on the other side of this warm front, but that higher dew point air is lurking on the other side of it, and that, of course, is what is tracking our way as we speak. And as we undergo this subtle air mass change tonight, not going to be shocked if we have a random shower or even a thunderstorm overnight. Now, it's like a 10 to 20% chance kind of a thing. It's a low-end chance, but it's something that I can't quite rule out. I think a lot of us will get off to a dry start for Wednesday morning. Now, the heat index is going to be a story tomorrow. Today, the dew point was not higher, or I should say high enough, to make for a significant difference between the temperature and the heat index. It's not going to be the case tomorrow with those dew points in the lower 70s and temperatures 90 or so. Heat index mid-90s. It's going to be a day that if your job requires work outdoors, if you're a roofer, if you're in construction, any job that requires you to exert yourself outdoors, this is going to be a day to, take it seriously and use some common sense. Take frequent breaks, hydrate yourself, the usual drill. But it's going to be one of those days, one of those summer days. We get several of these this summer where you really do need to take care of yourself and make sure that you're staying properly hydrated. All right, let's talk about things other than the heat tomorrow. I think we're largely dry through the end of the afternoon. Random thunderstorm shower, I can't rule it out by 6 o'clock or so. But by far and away, the higher chances of wet weather will come later in the evening. Here's a look at the latest run of our in-house model showing, if taken literally, a weakening line of showers and storms pushing east right around maybe 10 to 11 or so. Again, taken literally. This is just one run of one model, but it's my best way to graphically show you what the possibilities might be. This is, again, going to be mostly around or after sunset tomorrow evening. Now, SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, did bump up the risk category for parts of northern Ohio, northwest Ohio, southeast Michigan, up to enhanced. That's a 3 on a 1 to 5 scale, keeping most of our area in the slight risk, a category below that, 2 out of 5. I've seen a lot of questions on Facebook today. Could the enhanced risk be pushed farther east? I guess I doubt it. Seeing a lot of runs of the high-res modeling at this point showing the line of storms, the main line, kind of weakening enough as it moves east of I-77 that I don't think an enhanced risk is all that appropriate at this point for Northeast Ohio, Northwest PA. That being said, don't let your guard down. Slight risk still means that we have an elevated chance of seeing some severe weather, and I still think that the main risk would be a damaging wind gust Below that would be hail, and at the very end of the list, it's a non-zero chance, but it is low, an isolated tornado. The tornado risk is likely quite a bit larger, or higher, I should say, off to our west towards, say, Toledo, Detroit, Lima, maybe even as far east as Cleveland to Akron. For us, it's not zero, but I do think it is fairly low, and you're going to see that some on this model simulation of the significant tornado risk. By 7 o'clock or so with our main line around I-71, there might be some isolated tornadoes embedded in this from Sandusky down towards Mansfield, Worcester, and into parts of the Columbus area as well. But you'll notice those colors become a little bit more muted as that line comes east. We still, again, have a non-zero chance of an isolated tornado, but I think the risk is higher to our west. The significant hail risk also higher to our west, but something I can't rule out. The later arrival of our storms tomorrow evening, I think, would lower the hail risk some. The wind risk may not be significantly lower despite the time of day that the storms are pushing in. Still a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere, so damaging winds easily still the number one risk with any storms that do manage to hold together as they come into eastern Ohio tomorrow evening. Boy, it's going to feel a lot nicer by Thursday and Friday. It is really soupy out there tonight, and it's going to be like that tomorrow. But then dew points crash Thursday, Friday. There's actually some model shenanigans, a little disagreement, if you will, about the forecast for late in the weekend and early next week. The dew points I have graphically shown here are based on the European model, which actually stalls a little disturbance around the upper Ohio River Valley and central Appalachians. If the European model were to be correct, it would turn kind of muggy next week, early in the week, and there might even be some shower and thunderstorm chances. Right now, the European's kind of on its own with that, and therefore I'm struggling to buy it, but it's something we'll be keeping an eye on. Right now, we have a mostly dry forecast, but if the Euro is going to score a coup and other models start coming around to that idea, maybe our forecast is going to evolve for early next week. As it stands now, and I talked about this last evening, still pretty high odds of a drier than average period in the 6 to 10 day outlook from the weekend through a good chunk of next week, and this is the 8 to 14 day outlook. No wet signal shown here in the longer range, so I still think that overall, mid-June will end up being a little bit drier than average, and we might see some yards starting to dry out a bit during the middle and latter portions of the month. That'll do it for me tonight. I'll be keeping an eye on the modeling this evening with regards to tomorrow's late-day severe weather risk. Don't forget you can check out the forecast anytime, Storm Tracker 21 app, wfmj.com/weather, and I'll be posting, of course, every day, around the clock, on Facebook and on Twitter.